Welcome back to the GRADEx Show on Earth. That's right. It's the GRADEx Show on Earth. I'm James Cybulski alongside the Air Jordan of the collectibles industry. How's that for pumping tires? Fab Del Rio, right? No pressure, Fab. But you better bring the goods here this week for all of our viewers and listeners here.
No flu game.
Yeah, exactly. No bricks. No bricks here. No days off. Hey, don't forget you can follow along on Instagram, X, YouTube, and hey, don't forget to make sure you're liking and subscribing to the content so we can keep on pumping out more content for you to digest. And you can always find us at gradexmedia.com on our website. And if you haven't already, Earth to you, go touch some grass and be sure to sign up for our newsletter. It's free. All you got to do is go to the website, gradexmedia.com. Click on the link. It is published twice a month. All the content, the latest news and drops. If you're sick of listening to me, you could get it all in the newsletter. It's published twice a month, and you can get that and access it. And it goes right to your inbox twice a month, and it's free. Visit gradexmedia.com. That's GRADEX media, media.com. I don't think I need to tell people how to spell .com, right, Fab?
I mean, you are a teacher, so I guess it's in your blood.
There
now,
you go.
Man.
We're covered. How are you this week? Where are you feeling, man? There's like this is a fun time as a sports fan because all the worlds are sort of colliding right now. We are like weeks away from the playoffs in the NBA, the NHL. Baseball's up and running. March Madness is happening. The Masters is coming up. Like, as you know, it's like Bob Cole. Everything is happening right now, Fab.
It is. It's a super fun time of year. And, you know, to think we're only 3 months away from the World Cup as well, like it's amazing. And for collecting, it's just as fun because all of these great events have an impact on collecting in one way or another. And hey, that's what we live for, right? Collectors love the hype. They love the bragging rights. It's a great time to be a sports fan.
It is a great time for it to be a sports fan. And you know what? Before we dive into sports, I'm going to go like right out of left field. But when you talk about how certain moments impact things, I want to hit something that kind of relates to your household and my household with little ones in our house. But it was something that we were both messaging back and forth when it was going down with the Oscars. But KPop Demon Hunters came away with some big wins. And now the merch is finally starting to happen. Like they were a little slow to react, and maybe I don't think they recognize like the opportunities from merchandising, but there's an Uno card game getting set to drop here any day as we record this. Boy, what's this doing? KPop Demon Hunters, Oscar winners for the collectible standpoint. What's happening? Is the meter moving yet?
Oh, it's definitely coming. So there's a lot more information now. You know, we mentioned in the last episode how it'd been really scarce, especially for collectors. There'd been some basic merchandise, but you know, now we're hearing about American Girl dolls.
Yeah.
Which I showed it to my daughter today, and she was super excited about that. Even during the Oscars, by the way, when they announced the winners, like me, my wife, and my daughter, we were all cheering that they won the award. So, yeah, it looks like a lot of the stuff is now starting to roll. A lot of stuff is on pre-order, whether that's through Mattel or Hasbro or key retailers. But yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff coming. And so we've updated our story on the website about KPop Demon Hunters. Yeah. And yeah, so we'll see how she goes.
See, people, it's not just me telling you to go check out the website. There's some great articles right there. Even Fab, even the Air Jordan of the collectibles industry is telling you, gradexmedia.com. So there you go. For people that want to know KPop Demon Hunters, you got that. There's your lead story of the day. So Major League Baseball, happy 2026 season, the MLB season underway. And I guess like, we always talk about him year after year, but he continues to find another level of a different stratosphere. And we talk about Shohei Ohtani. Like the only comparable I'm thinking right now here, are we getting to his airness sort of category now?
It's wild. You know, typically the way it goes with collecting is, you know, an athlete hits a peak, wins a championship, wins a major award. you go into the off season, his stuff cools down. Typically the value goes down, less items come up for sale, so on and so on. But not the case for Ohtani. In fact, when you look after they won the World Series last fall, his stuff steadily climbing. And he is starting to get into that rare air with the Michael Jordans, with the Muhammad Alis, and it's awesome. I mean, we realize we're seeing something special with him. I mean, a guy to be a Cy Young candidate as a pitcher and a MVP candidate as a hitter. I mean, it just the concept is wild. And I think we've taken it for granted, but maybe not anymore on the collecting side. Anyway, his story, his superstardom is just getting bigger.
8 years already. Let me ask you this. You're a baseball guy. Like, you played university ball. Mm-hmm. Is he a Hall of Famer? If his career comes to an end right now, 8 years, 5-time All-Star and impactful, but only 8 years. Is he a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, I think so. I think, that would be obviously some kind of tragedy that if you couldn't play anymore. Yeah. But I think of someone like Terrell Davis in football, right? He had those knee problems, and he probably had maybe a 7-year career, and it took him a while to get into the Hall of Fame, but those years were amazing. I say absolutely. I think he's already done enough. Even internationally, right? Yeah, what he did in Japan, that's meaningful too. I mean, the thing is, there's no question who the best player on the planet is right now, and it's been that way for a few years. Yeah. So there aren't a lot of guys that have a consecutive streak where you say that's the best ball player on the planet, borderline best athlete on the planet.
Yeah, no question. I guess the one that I always romanticize, career cut way too short, but Bo, right?
Oh, man.
And like we talk, there's still a mystique for those that lived through that period. I mean, well, you know what? I guess at one point, maybe down the road, and this is just on a side trajectory conversation, and maybe for anybody who's got a Bo Jackson collectible, this would probably help for you. But at one point, I do wonder if you could consider him as a builder. Oof. For baseball and football, for that matter. You know what I mean? Like, that guy put butts in the seats. Like, he had people talking about their sport, baseball, football. Obviously the game goes on without these athletes once they retire, but you talk about a unicorn, and yes, Dion did it. Truly. Yes, Brian Jordan did it, but nobody did it to the degree and with the pomp and the circumstances like Bo Jackson.
Not even close. And forget about the whole business merchandising side of the thing as well, right? There was Jordan. Jordan kicked off the shoe deals. But my God, that was an era of Bo Jackson and Michael Jordan together. And you could probably say Bo Jackson was the better athlete then. And we didn't get to see that much of him, right? What we saw was amazing, and we were so hopeful for what was to come. But could you imagine, again, that today? I think Ohtani might be the closest thing right now, right? I mean, you're almost.
I think so.
Yeah, in fantasy sports, Ohtani is essentially two separate athletes, right? You can draft him as a hitter, or you can draft him as a pitcher. So that's probably the closest thing. And yeah, it's great to have lived through both so far. I mean, truly two unicorns. And I can't even imagine today how a body could take the workload of playing NFL football and Major League Baseball. He never had any time off, ever.
Yeah. Oh, right. Like, you talk about, and in an era that we talk about load management, right? Here was Bo basically piecing out halfway through a baseball season to go play football, right? And then finishing football season and getting ready to load up for spring training. A couple weeks later.
It's amazing. And
wow.
Yeah, but his stuff, people still collect his stuff. Absolutely. Yeah. Especially if you look at his football rookie card, 1988 Topps football.
Yep.
That's a really hard card to get in nice shape, and it still pushes for a top grade, a Gem Mint 10 grade, be around $1,000. And you're hanging with a lot
for a mass-produced set too, right, Fab?
Oh yeah, 88 Topps was very highly produced. You can still find the stuff, but it's very hard to find in top shape. And
pristine,
yeah, we've talked about that. You know,
a lot of Friday cuts out there. A lot of offsetters.
But some diamond cuts. You know, when they're off to one side and then at an angle.
Out on a Thursday night for happy hour. Yeah.
You said it. Yeah, but he's still impactful, man. He's people love his autograph stuff. He's a great signer, and he has a really nice autograph too. He's still from the era where he takes pride in the quality of his signature. He's such an interesting character. And for those that may not know much about Bo Jackson, watch the 30 for 30 on him. I think it's called, is it Bo Knows Bo or something like that? But find it on Disney Plus. I think it's on there. But that 30 for 30 is amazing. You get to learn about the legend of Bo Jackson as he was growing up, and what a ride, and everything about him just remarkable.
Shout out to one of my favorite sports writers, Jeff Pearlman, who's written a number of bestsellers, but he wrote a book a couple of years ago, The Last Folk Hero, or The Last American Folk Hero, about Bo Jackson, and it's tremendous read, all about the mythology of who Bo Jackson is, and there's even the talk of Techno Bowl and the impact, and I guess this kind of leads into, you know, just from a side conversation, like here's Super Mario's coming out, and I say Super Mario because I've had enough kids in the last few years correct me saying it's not Super Mario, as you and I grew up in Super Mario, but like kids now.
Mario.
It's a Mario. Right. Yeah. So here we are. Super Mario is about to drop with another massive block. So the blockbuster films are ready to drop. But you look at the impact, obviously, of what Super Mario is doing. Nintendo Power, the magazine, and people are now getting magazines slabbed with PSA over the last year. But video games are also an element that are being slabbed, and I guess Tecmo Bowl is one of those. I got a friend who was able to get a very rare, I believe Bo Jackson, the story is that Bo doesn't sign it anymore, copies of Tecmo Bowl, and so he's got a copy signed from Bo, and he's got it cased, and so but this is another thing that people are now looking at, video games that are getting slabbed, right?
Absolutely. So yeah, we've talked a little bit in the past about graded magazines, and people are grading tickets, but video games are another massive growth area, and probably the leading character in that category is Mario.
Come on, man, get it right, Mario.
Right. And
Donna's gonna be strangling you in a minute here. Come on.
Well, we keep talking about, first appearances and debuts, and this means so much to collectors, but Mario, his first debut was in Donkey Kong, right? Mm-hmm. And he was not named yet. He was
the bad guy.
He was the bad guy in Donkey Kong Jr. So apparently in Donkey Kong Jr., he was trying to capture Junior. Anyway, it's a whole funny story, but
you're just trying to jump over barrels to start, right? You're the innocent guy who's get the hammer and
trying to save the girl,
But then Donkey Kong Jr., you're not the good guy.
Right. And so he was referred to as Jumpman officially in the game. So he wasn't even known as Mario yet. And there's actually, again, it's on Netflix. There's a series about retro video games. I forget the name of it now, but there's an episode about Nintendo, and it starts where Nintendo came from and getting into the arcade area and all of that. But for us collectors, the first thing, we always are curious about the first appearance of characters, of athletes. And so what has recently been discovered and I guess accepted is there is a card from Japan. These are a style of cards called a Menko, which was literally a schoolyard game. These thick, chunky, mini-sized cards that kids would literally scrape on the ground, throw. They were meant to be played with, and they had all kinds of fun little game elements.
It was a thick card, like it's a thick card, a very thick, yeah.
A thick card.
A lot of TV shows, like Goldarak, and I believe like there was even some Spider-Man going back,
and
right?
Batman and Disney, they had all kinds of properties.
And wrestling cards too, Fab.
Definitely wrestling, yes, absolutely. And so there's one from 1981, which is the Donkey Kong piece, Menko card, and it features Donkey Kong and the female, I forget her name now. It wasn't Princess Peach or anything, but then Mario or Jumpman is on that. So that's considered the Mario rookie card. And it's impossible to find, and especially impossible to find in good shape. And I should mention, these were specifically released in Japan. It was a popular thing in Japan, and they were often given away at arcades in the early and mid 90s and throughout the early 80s and throughout the 80s into the 90s. That's where you would get them, would be at arcades, and then you would play with them in the schoolyard. And so that card was something you could pick up for $25, $50. And now any conditioned copy starts at about $1,000 or $2,000 because people have determined like this is his very first piece of cardboard. Right. So on the website, we put together a story to kind of highlight, what's the legacy, what's the history of Mario Brothers collectibles. And, we give a bit of a story and background about that particular card. And then in 1982, Topps produced a Donkey Kong set. It was a collection of sticker cards with game cards and all black borders and really cool artwork. And then we kind of roll through all the way to a card set that Panini released in 2022. Just before the first movie came out, the new series they've done with Illumination, and that's kind of the more modern key card of Mario. They did some cool like prismatic type stuff in there. So really interesting, doing the research on that story. Also talking about the Nintendo Power magazine. That's a magazine that was everywhere across North America when it was released. And even medium, mid to high grade copies are in heavy demand. And super collectible as magazine grading has become a thing. And so your original question was about video game grading. And of course, that's a really special new category that has grown a lot. And several years back, right in the height of COVID and collectibles hype and all of that, there was a really rare copy of the Nintendo Entertainment System copy of Mario Brothers from '85 that sold for $2 million. And there's a lot of stories behind it. It was purchased by a fractional investment company that essentially purchased the item and then sold the shares, and people bought the shares, and the item was bought out in whole at $2 million. So, not your typical secondary market sale, but really meaningful, and at least shows the place that Mario the character fits in popular culture, and how video games and video game grading are a real collectible, and they display great, right? Like that's the kind of stuff you put up on a shelf, protected, and it looks that kind of stuff looks really cool.
Absolutely. No, it's a little bit of the show me, it's a little bit of the pop as well. And just when we talk about origin stories, long before Wicked made all that money with that backstory and origin story, remember, Mario was a villain in Donkey Kong Jr. So there.
So there it is.
So there it was. So did Wicked steal the idea from Donkey Kong and Mario? I'm just putting it out there. You touched on, in terms of magazine grading, we mentioned this in the last episode, just how, March Madness is kind of rolling on. Michael Jordan's first appearance in SI just recently sold for. So if you've got your old collection of magazines still sitting in a box right now and you've been hanging on to them, well, there's some value to them now, as Jordan's a 9.6 PSA edition of Sports Illustrated went for, dare I say, almost $250,000, about $230,000. Is that right, Fab?
Yeah, I think it was 229,000. And so this one was graded by PSA, who is new to magazine and comic book grading. They started in July of 2025, but
they got the rep.
Oh yeah, especially on the sports side of things. There was immediate acceptance by sports collectors. Obviously, the PSA brand is so massive in trading cards and tickets and everything on the sports side. And so sport magazine grading is really a cool growth category. And again, these are items that display really well. The magazines were the closest thing you had to capturing moments when they happened. You would have a Super Bowl victory, and then the following week you'd have something on the cover. Trading cards would always take half a year before you could actually get something printed of a particular moment.
Yeah.
And like we've talked about in the past, everyone has owned stacks of magazines and Sports Illustrateds, and unfortunately we threw most of them away, right? It was meant to be read, and then eventually, whether it was us or our parents or a garage sale, they just disappeared. And so that's part of what makes them so collectible, so rare, so valuable. But and so we have a nice story on the website. It's kind of an introduction to magazine collecting and grading and all of that, because there are specific differences between trading cards and magazines. So I encourage people to check that out. There's some good basics to learn in there. But the category itself, there's a lot of very interesting, treasure hunting that can go on, right? Because typically you're cleaning out a garage, you want to give away those magazines to somebody, right? Like, oh, I got 3 boxes of magazines, they weigh a ton, please take them. And maybe people will be more encouraged to do so now, because you never know, you can get some of those key issues and they really turn into something special.
In a recent episode on the podcast, we talked a little bit about Superman previously and having things that get thrown away. Shout out to friend of the show, Ted Yeomans. Ted, another guy who grew up in Gloucester, in our old backyard as well. Yeah. And after watching one of the episodes on YouTube, he sent a message to say that his father his dad was born in the early 30s. In the early 1930s, and had collected comics between 1936 and 1948. And then he went off to join the RCMP, and that his grandmother took all those comics and tossed them in the early 1950s. But you think about some of look, there's a million of those stories that exist in the universe, and Ted was willing to share that one, that tragedy. So many of us, listen to, what is in that potential box from something that that exists between 1936 and 1948, and you think about, oh boy, there's 2 big issues that I can think of between 1936 and 1948 that immediately come to mind.
And unfortunately, that's why a lot of them are so valuable, is because a lot of this stuff was thrown away. Especially during that time, you had the war, so there was, people were recycling paper for as much as possible. That was kind of, the paper drives were very important.
And the Great Depression at the time, and so much of it, right? Like, it's not like a lot of people had resources to say, you know what I have money for right now? A comic.
Right, exactly. That is not important to me right now.
Am I going to spend 10 cents on this comic, or am I going to eat tonight as a family? And that was sort of time. So
that's one of the really fun things about collecting too, is you get to learn about history in different ways, whether it's politics, culture, sports, of course. And I think deep down, people love going down those roads. You hear a lot of collectors say, "Well, what do I care about Babe Ruth? I haven't seen highlights of him for 100 years on TV." That's not what it's about. Like, how many people take history as their major in school? There's got to be hundreds of that. Did you really? Huh, I didn't know that. There you go, right? We're deep down, we're fascinated in these old stories. Sure, we like to make fun of the days where we had to videotape the 1987 All-Star game because we were outside playing. But that was the best technology of the time, and it's fascinating to learn about these old technologies and printing and and cards and collectibles are just an amazing way to tell these stories. And especially as I've gotten older, I find myself more attracted to the older stuff, even well before when I was born, just to get to know what were the kids like when they were opening packs of this stuff, or where did they buy this comic book or magazine? It's some of the best movies that win the Oscars are from the olden days, whatever that means. So no, collectibles are great for that. You research your stuff, and you kind of pay respect to the people before us that enjoyed these hobbies, and I appreciate that more and more as I as I age, I guess.
Yeah, all the stories, right? And let's not forget, like, even from a history standpoint, do you remember the Pro Set had the Desert Storm cards?
Yep, I do.
Right, like, kind of somewhat forgetable, but like,
there was a Saddam Hussein.
Yeah,
they made a Saddam Hussein card, and they were popular. They sold a lot of those things, but
they're mass produced. Yeah,
they were mass produced, and again, a snapshot in history, right? The 90s were just a crazy decade period for everything. Music,
Storm and
fashion.
Norman rookie. Remember that? A Storm and Norman Schwarzkopf rookie.
Like, yeah.
Well, okay. It's like, I'll trade you your Gretzky rookie for, I'm okay right now.
Yeah.
You can keep your Storm and Norman. So lots of stories with that. Further to March Madness. Interesting to see the 26 Bowman U. What's going on with that now in terms of, are we blurring the lines in terms of what a rookie is now looking with some of the involvement of some of these stars in March Madness now mixed into an NBA set? Like, talk to me, Fab. Like,
yeah, man,
educate us here.
I'm still starting to, I'm still wrapping my head around it. But basically, what Topps announced in the last couple of weeks was so they recently got the NBA license back from Panini, and so they are bringing the Bowman brand back to the NBA. And Bowman is a brand that is synonymous with prospecting. So Topps, to go way back into our history books, Topps Gum Company purchased Bowman Gum in the mid-50s. Bowman was their number one competitor back then. They bought them, and then the Bowman brand disappeared from that point until 1989. Where Topps introduced it as a new brand. And they were focusing on rookies. And then when they got to 1992, they full-blown went prospecting. It was a higher quality set, glossy, super white borders, following along with the 89 Upper Deck super premium baseball set. But Bowman is the prospecting brand of Topps. So what they did now with announcing Bowman NBA is they are including college. So they have licenses with, I believe, 150 different schools.
NIL,
baby, absolutely. And because they have these deals with these schools, virtually all the big schools, they have the top NBA prospects going into this year's draft, but they're still in college. They haven't been drafted yet. So we're working on kind of a major story about trying to define what a rookie card is. And it's basically impossible because there's so many different opinions. The rules change constantly, but we're trying to kind of wrap our heads around what does the modern day rookie card look like today versus What does even the term true rookie mean versus official rookie? What does the very first appearance mean? There's a lot to digest, but now we're talking about NIL players, current college players who are in their college uniforms in an NBA product, right? So if you try to define what a rookie card is, that just throws something brand new into the mix. And it's fascinating to me because, technically these are cards in an NBA product, the very first NBA issued cards, but they're pictured in their college gear. So again, I'm wrapping my head around it, but I love it. I that kind of idea where you're, like you said, blurring the lines of what a rookie card is, I think is great. It's unique, and quite frankly, it adds great content to the set. Right now, you have all of the top rookies from the 2025 draft and 2026. That just hasn't been done before. So cool, but I'm sure there's going to be mixed opinions on the thing. No question.
Yeah, look, maybe I just sounded like I'm from the young ages or traditional, but I think until that player is wearing a pro jersey or holding up that jersey, it's not really a rookie card until, look, there's other cards that exist, but what defines a rookie? A rookie is a rookie season, right? It's not a senior season. It's not a junior season. It's not a freshman. It's not a sophomore. A rookie is a rookie.
But what does that mean? First pro season? But is that
I think that's
major pro or minor league pro? I mean, it's a complicated question, man. Trust me.
And I think, obviously there's been the minor league cards that have been out there for a long time as well. But to me, I think the first professional major league appearance is what defines a rookie. So,
and technically that is the
hockey.
Case.
And I think this is a perfect opportunity to segue. But if we want to use hockey as an example, I think the National Hockey League, at least hockey as a whole, the defined sort of rookie card has been universally accepted as
the young gun. Yeah, you got it.
Right?
Yeah.
And what are they wearing? Right? It's not. And yes, there are cards out there
100%.
of kids playing. Hockey Canada jersey with those Tim Hortons cards, or you can find cards, or there's CHL cards that exist and all of it. But until you have that first real pro card, and look, hey, a signed card could be worth, a Sidney Crosby card, whatever. But I do think that your first pro card is really when you're in the majors, when you're in the big leagues. I think that, to me, I'm sure there's probably an obscure find that you can find a minor league card that somebody might put a premium on, but I do think that the real rookie card, there you go.
The real rookie card. Okay, now we have to define what real means. But you make a really good point, though.
So I guess the traditional is the real, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but here's the other thing, too. The market is going to determine what the key rookie card is. In the last episode we talked about Leaf producing these sets of high school baseball players, and they produced Paul Skeens in 2019, and his first major league cards were in 2022, 2023. That doesn't mean that 2019 card is the most valuable or the most popular. It's just kind of cool.
But it's not just me, Fab. It's not just me out there.
But it's even blurred between, because it used to be the rookie card had to be part of a base set, had to be part of a product where you had packs. So there was a formal definition. And, this typically was built through the Beckett magazines that a lot of us used to. That's where we got our best information. And they set these clear rules for what a rookie card is. But now it seems to matter less about a card being a specifically a rookie card, because you have insert cards that are super valuable and super popular. So the idea of a rookie year card is important. And then, of course, you have Major League Baseball with the MLB RC logo. And you can only earn that logo once you've made your debut. But then they put that logo on insert cards as well. So it's definitely blurred, but it definitely emphasizes the point that rookies rule. Rookies really push this hobby, especially early on. Everyone understands the rookie card. And, we talked a little bit about the Superman card last episode. And, I called it the Superman rookie. And the true non-sport collectors hate that because that's a sports term, right? Like, what do you mean Superman's a rookie? He didn't join the NBA or anything, right? So they see that, as the sports collectors coming into non-sport, but that's how we get it, right? We get it as the rookie. The rookie is special. And so we've talked about this for a few minutes, but it's super difficult to define what a rookie card is. And so in the story, what we're working on is what are the actual rules? Like, when is a player eligible to have a rookie card in all 4 sports and soccer? And they all have different rules. So it's a fun thing to explore, but we're kind of chasing our tails in that we may not get a consensus, but we're just trying to, offer some information to people on this is typically what a rookie card meant. It's very different today. You have licensing, partial licensing, non-licensing, cards that were inserted in magazines. So there's tons of exceptions. And as you can see, there's lots to get into and lots to talk about.
And we've only scratched the surface on this. There's a lot of layers to this, so it's complicated. So we could be here till another week just discussing the subjectivity of what the rookie, or the true rookie, or the the traditional rookie is. So on that note, let's move to actually let's go to the hockey young guns for a second, and the absolute fanaticism of we may say the bursting of the outburst. The outburst parallel cards that are just blowing up, super popular now all of a sudden, especially these gold one of ones. Jack Hughes just hit one for, I think, just sold for $18,000. There is Macklin Celebrini. There's basically a wanted reward that has already been posted out there here. Fab, like what is going on with these outbursts?
Yeah. So just to go back to the bounty, as we call it, it's one of the biggest consigners on eBay.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
I just needed to do an outburst there just to kind of stay in the outburst theme. So. Right?
You got me.
See what I did there? That's an outburst. A different kind of outburst.
So one of the biggest consigners on eBay is a company from just outside Toronto called Slab Sharks. And they're the ones that put the bounty on this card. So this is the one of one Young Guns rookie year. So 2024 rookie year of Macklin Celebrini. And if you haven't seen the outburst design, it looks super cool. It's kind of like, literally like an outburst of stars as in kind of a foil background behind the main image. And to me, I believe it's kind of paid homage to some technologies that have been used in the past in card design. There was a set from 1993 called Pinnacle Masks. And if people remember Pinnacle, that was one of the big card companies of the mid 90s to late 90s. They did some big, wild things. And in hockey circles, that Pinnacle Mask set is still revered today. Not super rare or anything, but just the design and the printing technology that was used was something called Dufex. And it was a proprietary technology that those cards had to be printed in Europe. And so to kind of bring things around, during my time when I worked in the game, in the early 2000s, we released a product called Between the Pipes, which was a goaltender only product. And we introduced that insert set of the mask, which is basically just an image of the goalie mask without the player. because they're so unique, right? Goalie masks show the personality of the goalie, and so using this Dufex technology makes the card extra striking. It really catches the light well. So what Upper Deck, it seems like they've done is try to mimic that technology, and it's worked. Like the impact it has on collectors is awesome. And they've only introduced it, I believe they started in 2023 was the first year. And it's not a super rare parallel, but it looks good. So they have the silver is the most common, then red, and then gold is the 1 of 1. I believe the red is out of 25. And even the silvers, I saw recently someone pulled a Matthew Schaefer silver, and they were super pumped about it because it just looks awesome. And that part is really cool to me, that a parallel set has become so popular because of the look. We talked about the aesthetics of, the Sidney Crosby golden goal. That photo, the aesthetic is part of what makes it so special. Well, the design of this parallel is what's so special. And yeah, there's been massive sales like that. That Jack Hughes, it's a young gun reprint. It's not his rookie card. It's a reprint of his rookie card with that Outburst design on it. And the 1 of 1 for $18,000, it's turning into one of like the key parallels. If you can get your guy in a Outburst, especially a gold Outburst, that's almost like the cream of the crop, like the grail card for a particular player. And Upper Deck knows it now. They're seeing how the market is reacting, and they're doing it on a lot of their products. I even saw it used on the recent Batman the Animated Series. So they have, if you remember that show, extremely popular from the early 90s. I might have
all 4 volumes on DVD somewhere.
No way. Okay.
That's probably the greatest animated series ever. I mean,
amazing. Yes, it's way up there. Like critically, popularity, all of it. And so they have parallel versions of these cards that have that Outburst design. So they know they've clicked into something, and it looks really special. Like it looks really good when you hold it in hand. And yeah, there's been some massive sales, and so yeah, we'll see. That's kind of cool to see how people's tastes change, and you can't always predict what's popular in collecting.
It's crazy, and we were talking about this the other day. Obviously, my involvement with the PWHL, but Marie-Philippe Poulin, the absolute face of the league, her 1 of 1 Outburst, golden Outburst, just sold for what, $20,000? Wild.
Wild.
And then you got Demidov with the Montreal Canadiens, that just sold for a tidy $80,000. So it is just crazy that we're starting to see some of these numbers that are now bleeding over into the hockey world, and they're not just Gretzky rookies that we're talking about anymore. There's a lot of other players that are now moving the meter, and we're seeing it even more so in this post-Olympic world. A month later, there's one other story. We'll save it for the next episode because I think the timing of it will work out very well for what's happening in the collectible landscape in the universe at that time. So we'll save that for the next episode. But hey, just a reminder, everybody, you can always follow us along here on Instagram, X, YouTube, and make sure you're liking and subscribing to the content so we can keep pumping out this information, content, entertainment for you to continue to digest. And again, a reminder, make sure to head over to our website at gradexmedia.com. Sign up for the newsletter. It's free. You know who likes free? Fab likes free. I like free. It's published twice a month. All you got to do is click on the details as you visit the website. That's gradexmedia.com. So on that note, we're going to give it the go home. Anything else you want to hit on before we get out of here?
You know what? Spring is finally sprung, looks like. I'm excited to get outside a little more, go play some catch. And it feels like, with the baseball season getting going, starting to hear the birds come out. This is, you being in BC is a different story. completely different temperature, but
we got the cherry blossoms are already the leaves are already starting to fall on those. It was spring sprung a while ago for us out here, buddy. So yeah, we'll see if we can figure out what the actual traditional rookie card for spring and Mother Nature is, if there is one. So
interesting.
We'll put Fab to that task.
I will look that one up.
Let's see if there is one. There you go. We'll see if we can get an answer here the next time on the GRADEx Show on Earth. He's Fab Del Rio. I'm James Cybulski. Thanks for watching.